Why is Voidco using dead Kremlings for their army? The day the first footage for Bananza released, we were immediately caught off guard by these uncanny golden skeletons, hiding inside the game's new Crockoid enemies. For a Nintendo game, one in the Mario universe no less, these enemies are kind of terrifying. They're not cute and cartoony skeletons like Drybones, but realistic humanoid reptilian husks. But more importantly, these are definitely Kremlings in some form. Just look at them. And it seems Voidco, the new villains in town, are taking full advantage of their primal strength. Just in a very macabre manner. Fair warning, if you don't want spoilers for Bananza, I recommend you steer clear of this video. But if you've gotten to the end of the game, I highly recommend you stick around. Because today, we'll be delving into just how the Kremlings, Voidco, and the Crockoids are related, and how eerie and bizarre their connections really are. First and foremost, I'd like to compare the anatomy between the Kremlings themselves and the Crockoid skeletons. Just know, and if you don't want spoilers for Bananza, leave now, that I'm going to be using the Kremling designs from Bananza as the base comparison here. Either way, the two are obviously related, no doubt about it. But I think going over the finer differences provides some necessary lore cues. For starters, the Crockoid skeletons seem to have several bony processes jutting out of their spines, as opposed to the normal Kremlings whose backs are completely smooth. I also can't help but notice that the Crockoid skeletons are more similar to the rare era Kremlings, with their longer snouts and necks. They kinda remind me of the cobble designs of DKC3, funny enough. Either way, though both designs are clearly crocodilian in nature, could these subtle differences imply they're actually different species? Well, given the game's interest in fossils among other things ancient, I have reason to believe the Crockoid skeletons might be extinct ancestors of modern Kremlings. It would make sense thematically given all the game's fossilized homages to classic elements of the franchise. It also seems these golden skeletons are used alongside other sorts of ancient stall beasts, so Voidco might have an interest in using extinct beings in general. If this is the case, I'd have to say it's really clever on the part of the developers. Using ancient beasts of primal strength to build an army is really intuitive. Speaking of Voidco, they're quite the intriguing villains. I think Rool being in the game alongside them really highlights how cryptic they are. You see, Rool doesn't have a lot to hide. They do. Weirdly enough though, Voidco seems to take certain cues from Rool as well. Some of their vessels have those iconic asymmetrical eyes that Rool is so well known for, which might lead one to believe he's the one pulling the strings, but this doesn't appear to be the case as he's presented as a completely separate party. This raises intrigue about Voidco taking possible inspiration from Rool's army. There's no way to know for sure, but it's very curious regardless. Another point of interest is how Bananza just so happens to use these neon magenta and turquoise color accents conveniently dumped over the game. Could this oddly specific color combo suggest a possible link to the Kremling core? It's an incredibly uncanny coincidence, considering that's where the Kremling army was spawned from in DKC2, at least according to the game manual. I wouldn't say that's where Voidco is necessarily getting their Crockoids from though, given their other non-Croc related units. But I wouldn't be surprised if they were using the same type of magic. Looking at that banana wand, Voidkong. It's also notable that the planet's core, particularly Critter Crevasse and Kremling Quagmire where the infamous reptilians lurk in Bananza, has an almost completely bleached out color scheme. This emanates an off sense of purity, seeing as how the Kremlings here look like they're back in their truest form, even though when they die they explode into golden liquid like Voidco's minions. Not to undermine the Kremlings' return, but this could mean the Kremling crew in the game aren't actually real, rather a fabrication created by Voidkong's wand which Rool acquired in the final act. I find it amusing how even though Rool may not fully grasp how to use Voidkong's wand, he kinda just rolls with its secondary effects. Maybe he had a certain vision of bringing his army back with its power, but never realized it would come packed with the bizarre effigies of his race encasing his soldiers. I'm aware Rool is the type of man who just wants to get things done without questions. But even then, I'm sure it was at least a little weird to see the added armor imitating his likeness. It really does underscore how weird it is that Voidco seems to be imitating Kremling iconography with all of their machinery, especially considering that neither him nor his army have ever been brought up once by them in conversation. Either way, this makes it all the more satisfying that Voidco got decimated by Rool nearing the end of the game. It's safe to say that Voidco is a very shifty and unsettling character, and wherever he got his power from, it's nice to see it's gotten into the hands of the true bad of the franchise. Much more deservedly, I might add. Whatever the true story is behind the Kremlings, Voidco, King K. Rool, etc., I think this might be the most juicy lore Nintendo's had to offer for one of their mainline titles. It doesn't just pique old fans' intrigue, but new ones as well with its macabre, almost Five Nights at Freddy's-esque subject matter. You know, with dead beings being stuffed into cartoony mechanical suits and all. And fun fact, Rare's initial lore for the Kremlings in DK Country was supposed to be an extensive, 15-page long document, but was turned down by Nintendo because it needed to fit in the instruction manual. It just goes to show the way Nintendo's turned over a new leaf when it comes to lore in the Donkey Kong franchise, and I love the new vision they have for it. If you have any additions to my theorizing and speculation, please tell me in the comments. I'd be happy to see what you have to say. And if you thought this was interesting and want to see a follow-up, do not be afraid to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I genuinely find this topic super interesting, and it's awesome to see Nintendo's new take on the Kremlings and King K. Rool, especially in such a cryptic manner. I'd also like to give thanks to some of the big names in the Donkey Kong community on YouTube for inspiring this video. A few particular members that come to mind are Uncle Al Plus, the Kong Compendium, and Don't Mind Joe for all their content I've been binging leading up to the game. Either way, have a great day or night, folks, and peace out.